Well, welcome back everyone to Kitchen Table TCG here with the fancy edition with the new graphics. Shout out to Joe. Let me fix my camera there. Shout out to Joe. Joe helping out with all these graphics. Awesome work. Can't wait to share it with you. Love to highlight some stuff on the channel. Number one is my collection tracker. If you're interested in having all access to all the data here as part of a collection tracker, you can head on over to patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG, where it gets you access to all the data, as well as updated every time I do a video like that. And then I also love to highlight that it gets you access to 10% off over at Midtown Merchant. Mitch has the best single store in the market, and that is a great way to pay for your Patreon, and it also then supports the channel as well. If you aren't a patron, you can use the promo code BeKind to save $5 off your order of $50 or more as well over at Midtown Merchant. And then if you are going to be buying product, this is, in my opinion, a great time to be buying product. If you can get first edition on TCG Player, it's probably going to be a good deal. Use my affiliate link that is in the description of my videos. All right, let's hop into Arcane Rising, and it's going to be a good update. There's a lot of cards that have moved this week. It's going to be interesting. Lots of stuff to talk about. The graphs really help us out here. As we look at sealed boxes right now, the first edition boxes down just a little bit. The prices are absolutely all over the place. You'll see when I show you the sold listings, but they're just all over the place. I'm going with 2,500 this week. Last week was 2,800. We were pretty stagnant the last 3 weeks, a little bit of a downturn this week. Let's pop up and actually show you the actual sold listings here. There was one that was accepted for 2,500. That's kind of what I'm using. Another auction ended at 22 grand, puts 25. But then one sold at the end of last week at 3 grand as well. The price is all over the place. I have seen some moving at 3 grand on Facebook. I've also seen them moving at 2 grand on Facebook. So if you're buying, you should be targeting at 2 grand. If you're selling, you should be targeting at 3 grand. And somewhere in the middle is where you will land. It's a crazy market right now. You also have unlimited an uptick on TCG Player, going back up to 76 from the low at 73 last week. Now keep in mind there are some stores if you're shopping around that are doing better deals than that, but keep in mind that seems to be where the price is. So let's take a look here at the Fable, the Eye of Ophidia. For the cold foil, there's still just not anything moving. Sellers are just not meeting the buyer's asking price. No one's real excited about it. I think the lowest on eBay is like 35,000, which would be way higher than ever before. We saw a peak price of around 23,000. We dipped down to about 10,000 with there was a big lot that sold. It had a Eye of Ophidia in it. It's been a while since we've seen an individual card actually be sold. 2 weeks ago, I think I saw one on Facebook. But then we have this is lined up with the box price. You can see the graph is lined up with the box price, which is super interesting to me. But then we have the unlimited as well. You can see the spikes of the unlimited. This is an all-time low price ever since I started tracking the value of these cards at $290 on TCG Player, an all-time low for the Eye of Ophidia. So let's hop in and see what happens in first edition if you take all these sold listings and throw them in and calculate to the EV. Let's see where we're at. Talking about legendaries. No movement in the Arknight Skullcap, the Teklo Foundry Heart, no movement. There was a Skullbone Crosswrap on TCG Player that sold for 1,400. There was one on Facebook though that sold for 1,500. So two sold listings on the Skullbone Crosswrap. There was a Storm Striders that sold for for just under 1,500 on TCG Player. And then I want to highlight the Grasp of the Arknight here that was on Grasp of the Arknight here that was on eBay that sold for 1,300. It was a best offer that was accepted for 1,700. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. The only maybe concern on condition, it's hard to tell in a picture. The front looks pretty good. You could maybe make an argument based on the picture that there is a little bit of an issue right there on the top corner. It's hard to say. It doesn't look like that's the picture, but we'll call it 1,300. It was labeled as as pictured, direct from a booster pack to a penny sleeve. So, who knows what that means. The front pictures, it's just hard to tell, honestly. So we'll call that the price, and we'll see what happens over the next couple weeks. I don't know. It seems like it would probably still grade a 9, honestly. I don't know. You guys can fight about it in the comment section. 1,300 sold listing. Average then for your legendary is sitting at $1,859. And you can see the graphs here, super interesting here on the graph side of things. If you look at the, let's look at that grass of the Arcane. We had a high price of 3,500 way back in May. And then we've kind of it just goes up and down and up and down, and it's kind of low. Like, we haven't seen prices at this point since this pre-spike price. This is for the grass, right? This pre-spike price, way back on the 27th of March. This is when everything spiked up, and we are kind of at, or even a little bit below, the prices that we were at, and those prices were flatlined for a long time. You can see each individual card here too, pretty flatlined for a long time after initial spike back in December, and then we had that huge uptick, and we've kind of worked our way back down to these prices. This is the type of stuff that really suggests to me that this is the bottom of the market. Again, you can never time the market perfectly. You have to buy on the way down if that's your thing. But if we look at the cold foil commons, you can see a very similar story here for the cold foil commons. Let's go through some of the prices. No changes in a couple of them. A talismanic lens that sold for $350. A Mage Master boots that sold for $350. Bullseye's bracers that sold for $300. A Crown of Dichotomy that sold for $280, which is down 20%. We've got Null Rune boots that sold for $280. A Bracers of Belief that sold for $250. That's where I'm gonna start showing you one of the bigger sales here for this was on Facebook. And you can see, it's cool, you can see the edit history too. So Null Rune boots sold for $280, Bracers of Belief for $250, and Null Rune robe for $250. I did confirm that it was asking price, and both buyer and seller said yes. And so if you take a look at Bracers of Belief, right? Again, you had that spike, the same kind of timeline. At March 27th, we had a huge spike. This is like when all the print run data was revealed. And we had some ups and downs on the way down. And then now we're kind of ticking back up. And it seems to be around that price that people are highlighting as the price point. So average is sitting at $300. You can see we are, the average way back in March was $241. So we got down to 256, which is awfully close to 241, and now we've had 2 weeks or 3 weeks of kind of upticks here. So again, I feel like we're at I'm extremely biased. I really want us to be at the bottom of the market. I'll keep buying, but I want us to be at the bottom of the market. It makes the videos more interesting and makes more people come and watch them. So all right, let's move on to the first edition Majestics. You can see lots of downwards pressure, down 6.5% on the Rainbow Foil Majestics. There was a Command and Conquer. Let me show you. Let's see. Did I pull up the Command and Conquer? Let's pop up. Let's show you Mordred Tide first. This is the Mordred Tide sold listing for $200. Let me show you that one first. Mordred Tide, really horrible listing. Foil first edition Mordred Tide. That's it. Not the best. Not the best way to sell a card, but it's probably a relatively decent. The condition is, it's how all these ones are. I don't know. It's probably not. You could probably, I'm gonna take that down. I'm not gonna I'll end up changing that price a little bit. That's probably too low. I didn't actually look at how closely that condition was. I'll end up changing that price after this video, but another one sold for $200. I think the previous one on that was $350, so it's probably average out around $300. It won't affect the value, the EV at the end of the video very much, but I will update it for the patrons. But then also a Command and Conquer that I wanted to show you that I didn't include. I did look at this one a little bit more closely when I was running the numbers. But this Command and Conquer is pretty beat up on the cornering on the back side of it. You can see 1, 2, has a little bit of edging there as well. Huge corner damage. It's just condition centric. This is not going to probably won't even get a 9, probably an 8.5. So it's hard to make the distinction of what to include in the prices or not. I did not include the $875 accepted price on that. I just kind of left it at the $1,200. I think it was at $12.5 last week. So we will adjust that Mordred Tide. I'll put that back in the collection tracker to $300. but just another sold listing to watch that. You can see Command & Conquer. These are just so hard to value and to figure out. It's hard to find one to buy. It's hard, but that's where the price points are. 408.50 on average for the rainbow foil, 56.50 on average for the regular foil. There's also an Art of War. There was actually 2 Art of Wars that sold for $7.70 each on TCG Player. 2 different sold listings on TCG Player as well, which will put that down about 9%. So lots of purchases happening, lots of movement happening in the Majestics. Super rares, no foils. Remember, these prices were 2 weeks old. Remember, we had this huge downtick, one seller going on eBay and just sold tons of super rares at cheap prices. So that dropped the average price down. We haven't really seen much action. No one's confident enough in the market to start buying up again. Same thing, on the regular super rares were down 5% for an average of $10. No huge sold listings or anything like that. Just a lot of downwards pressure individually on cards. Let's keep moving on to the rainbow foil rares. You can see I've highlighted Plunder Run here. There was some significant movement up. They do kind of bounce up and down. A couple of them get purchased every now and then. Your average rare is sitting at $21.42, which is up 3.5%. That's for the rainbow foil. Keep in mind, this is all TCG low pricing. But you can see, some movement there. These have not been as affected. I think it's just, there were just so many of them, and they have not been as affected as the dip. As you look at the first edition, I don't know what happened to that graph, but you can see the cards all in all were down 7.5% to an average of $1.17. There's your Plunder Run again. Looks like it got added to the market or whatever. So looking at your rainbow foil commons, Fate Foreseen is a cool one to look at. You can see a huge spike and then a drop, and kind of we're at the prices again of the pre-spike prices. But as a whole, we have not seen the average price come down at all. A little bit of a drop in the spike, but you see some movement there, some ups and some downs. But all in all, we are down 3.5% for an average common rainbow foil price of $7.30. And then your commons do have some value. We did have a huge dip in the commons in the last couple of weeks, but your average is sitting at 62 cents for a common. All right, let's take a look at your EV per box. Keep in mind, there was some feedback and pushback about, including the commons. That's why we have 4 different numbers for you here. Your true EV does include the commons. That would put each box, if you were to open 40 boxes, your price would be $1,659. If you don't want to include the commons, which is what I would do, you'd be sitting at $1,488. That does include the rainbow foil commons, because they do have a significant amount of money in there. But if you don't want to include the Fable, then you'd be sitting at $1,238. But if you want to take out the Legendary as well, so this is then no Fable, no Legendary, and no regular commons, you'd be sitting at a box average of $773. And you can see how much room things take up. It's interesting to me to see how big the Legendary piece of the pie is here compared to the Fable. I believe, if I'm remembering right, Crucible was opposite. I'll have to go back and look, but it'll be interesting for WTR to see where the WTR pie lands. This is an interesting little, I think there's a lot to be gained here on what might be underrated. You can see sealed product value, the trend lines are, it's going up and down based on the rest of the cards. And it's interesting. So hope that you gained some knowledge from all that stuff. Let's go ahead and move on to Unlimited, the player set here. Looking for Legendaries, the Skullcap. I did want to highlight one thing, that it's interesting to see some new sellers coming in and that just don't have the ratings on TCG Player. So like no sales, 0%. It's like, do you really want to include that price? Meanwhile, there are sold listings happening in the 275 range, 270, 260. So just be careful if you're shopping on TCG Player from new sellers until they have some rep. I don't know. So I did not want to include the new seller pricing there. So I left it at up to 270. It looks like a lot of people are buying up. Grass the Arcanite down to 150, Storm Striders down to 72. The other ones kind of staying the same. Puts your average at $129.40. And you can see the skull cap. Looking at the graph, it didn't spike as heavily as I thought maybe it did. Like, we were all as a community complaining about the $300 price of it, but like, I don't know, it's not a huge spike. I guess from 215, I guess it is pretty significant, but it's not dropping even with the boxes being relatively cheap right now. Grass the Arcanite kind of you can see where chains started becoming more popular, and that card's just kind of going up, whereas the rest of them are trending a little bit downward. So looking at your unlimited Majestics then, Art of War, you can see some significant increase in the foil version as the regular version starts to drop just a little bit. You can see all your movements here. Command and Conquer foil is going up. Command and Conquer non-foil still going up. It had a week last week. Actually, if I pop up Command and Conquer here, you can see what happened to it in the last couple weeks. Last week we were down 15%, but we've started to retrace back up just a little bit off of its kind of all-time high here, sitting at the $100 price point. You can see the average rainbow foil is at $25. Your average regular is at $17. The rainbow foil is starting to go up, whereas the regulars are starting to trend down. Again, I think, that's kind of more normal. We're kind of getting back to a normal world where these are going to start separating in value a little bit, as maybe the players have more of their cards now, and now people are set collecting, that kind of thing. I don't know, super interesting thing to see. As you look at your unlimited super rares, you can see a huge average price trend line going down and kind of just stabilizing now at these prices. No huge changes, down 2.5%, down 2.1%. Your average rainbow foil is at $2. Your average regular is at $1.07. I was interested to see that like the Ranger cards didn't really see any spike with the Tails announcement. Kind of interesting to me. We'll see more in the future. Looking at the rainbow foil rares, Plunder Run, you can see that card's moving up again as Chain plays this. There's a couple other decks that definitely play Plunder Run, and as players are entering into the game, more and more of these are getting scooped up in the market. Plunder Run at 540 this week. You can see, I just love it. The trend line moving up. You can see the most valuable cards: Plunder Run, Pour the Mold, Reduced to Rune Chant, even though it's lost 13%, still up there. Enchanting Melody, Aether Spindle. Really cool to see what people are playing with and how this really affects the market and the EV of the boxes. Your average rainbow foil rare price is at 79 cents, which is down from last week. Regular rare, again, you can see Plunder Run holding some value, even though it's down 43%. It's still $1.45, and a lot of movement here in some of the cards. You can just pick up what you want from that. Your average is actually down though to an average of 16 cents. Looking at your rainbow foil commons as we wrap this up, Northern Gloves is moving up. You can see a lot of this equipment, has stabilized in price as the Northern boots there. Your average is, pretty stable here. Average is sitting at 50 cents, which is actually, there is some value in some of these cards, especially like Fate Foreseen or the equipment. There is some value in landing some of these cards that should be accounted for as you kind of see, is it worth it to open up a box? So, all right, looking at your unlimited EV then, if you were to include the commons, the average common here, it's 11 cents. You get like 280 of them per box or something like that. So if you want to include that, you can. I would not. You're not going to be able to find anybody to buy your commons, but the true EV is sitting at 135. But if you take out those commons, really what I would say, if you open 40 boxes, you could go for about $105 per box right now, which is kind of crazy. If you take out the Fable of that, you'd be sitting at 97. If you take out the Legendaries of that, you'd be sitting at 65. And you can see where this comes in. Your regular Majestics hold up a ton of the value, $34. A lot of that is due to Command and Conquer. Then you got your Legendary. So if you hit a Command and Conquer, if you hit a Legendary, you're doing very, very well. And then, if you take out the commons, take that out, then you've got the rest of it there. The Fable just losing its value here. This tells me that the Fable, I know it's unlimited, don't invest in it, but the Fable is a good time to buy the Fable, the Eye. So, All right, that's the market update. Again, I hope that has all been helpful information to you. I hope that you enjoy these updates. I love the new graphics. Thank you so much, Joe, again for that. I'm not going to be able to thank you in every single time we do that, but this first week, definitely appreciate you. If you're looking for information here, if you want all this stuff as a part of a collection tracker, head on over to patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG. Gets you access to a collection tracker that has all the updated values updated today. I'll get that one card fixed up. And then don't forget to use your promo code for Midtown Merchant if you are a patron. Save yourself 10% off of one of your orders this week. The rest of you guys, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for supporting the channel by watching the videos and commenting, hitting the whatever you do. I just appreciate taking the time to watch this stuff, and I appreciate you. I hope that you have a great day, and I hope that you remember to be kind to the people around you.